Hello my friends, welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. This is Jennifer. If you guys watched my video last week, then you know that I took a surprise trip to Albuquerque, New Mexico to see my best friend of my entire adult life, also known as Jules 68, Julia. We have been friends since I was 19 years old. And I am 48, so I mean, we have really been friends my entire adult life. She found herself suddenly without a job, and I immediately thought I need to go to New Mexico. We planned this trip in approximately 10 days. I got a ticket, I packed my bags, I flew out there. I was there from Thursday to Tuesday, had a wonderful time. We spent 2 days just hanging out and the rest of the time sewing, and it was so good for my soul, guys. We had not had a best friend retreat since 2018. If you guys have a best friend, I really hope you do. You know what it's like to have that one person who's like your soul sister, and just, yeah. So I want to show you some show and tell. We did do a little bit of shopping. We went to Hip Stitch and Stitchology, and I bought this guy at Hip Stitch. I've been wanting a square bobbin saver for a really long time. These are my Juki bobbins. They are a little big for it. As you can see, it kind of bends, but this is all of the bobbins I own, so it works just fine. I had a donut before and they didn't all fit, so this is totally great. I got just a few fabrics. This one is all kitty cats and I couldn't resist. I love the black and white fabric and they remind me of a certain someone, so I had to have that one. I love, love, love prickly pear cactus. I have them growing all around the outside of my house and I couldn't resist that. These are just a couple of speckles that I wanted to add to my stash. We were at Hip Stitch and they had their mask panels on clearance sale, and guys, seeing mask panels on clearance, it was very good for my heart. I think both of us were delighted to see them on clearance. I got this for $2, and my husband and I have an anniversary trip coming up next month, so I'm gonna make new masks for us. Obviously, aside from being together and chatting and just having a good time, the next most important part of retreat is sewing. So we sewed so much. Leading up to this, I had been a little bit coy about sharing why I was organizing my orphan blocks and cutting strips, but this was why. I took a massive bag of pre-cut 2.5-inch strips. I took all of my orphan blocks that I had completely organized, ready to go, packed those babies in my 24-inch spinner. I took the bag that Jeannie gave me. Jeannie gave me a bag that's probably like a bathroom type bag that you take for travel, and it was full of things to do after I had surgery last year. And I took this bag and I put all of my tools in it. I had unpacked all of my to-go stuff because I haven't been anywhere since, 2020 was 2020. So I had unpacked my to-go stuff. So that became my new to-go bag, and I got it all ready to go. 24-inch spinner, completely packed with, that's my suitcase, by the way. I don't know if that's jargon exclusive to the United States or not, but anyway, 24-inch suitcase, tool bag right in the center, completely packed with orphan blocks. My suitcase weighed 46 pounds, which is just a few pounds under the limit for the airline I was flying on. So that was my orphan blocks and my fabric and my tools. What I focused on was exactly what I told you guys I was going to focus on, which were baby quilts. Linus has been needing baby quilts. I had lots of orphan blocks, so I only made baby quilts. So first up are these two. All of these lovely machine applique blocks were given to me, I believe, by Shelly. Shelly, if I'm wrong, please tell me. Someone else, if I'm wrong, please tell me. But I think that's where they came from. All I did with these was sash them and put them together. That was it. They were squared up, they were ready to go. I just sashed them, put them together. I had this made very quickly. Dr. Seuss quilt. This block right here was left over from my last retreat. I had a panel of Dr. Seuss and I had framed all the blocks and I just had an extra. So I basically, after much playing and pulling fabric and putting fabric up and taking fabric off the design wall. Our design wall, guys, was a flannel back tablecloth that Jules had that we masking taped to the wall. You probably saw it in last week's video. I just grew it. I just made it bigger. All of these charm squares, those all came from Jules' stash, and everything else was from mine. And so I got these two knocked out, and these are more or less in order of how I made them because I stacked them up and I just flipped the stack over. So let's see what's next. Next up, I have these two quilts and two more quilts, all made from the same blocks. Crystal sent me an entire bag of orphan blocks, and I used all of them but a couple. I think she said these were probably from a swap, like birthday blocks or something like that. They were all exactly the same, and I just sat and sorted them by color and sorted them by color until I got sets that I was happy with, and I just kept sewing until they were gone. I honestly think there were only maybe 4 left, and they were a little bit smaller than the rest, and that's why I didn't use them. Again, more of the same blocks, 2 more baby quilts. I always have a fun stash of Fan and Mid Stitches blocks that people have sent me. I get them from pattern testers. I get them from people who have made a block and decide to change their background fabric. You know, any kind of reason like that. And that's a great reason to share an orphan block. Anything that is child friendly, I will put into a Linus quilt. Anything that is like maybe not appropriate, a weapon and that kind of thing, those I will give away because we don't use those in Linus quilts because they're just not appropriate for children. So I ended up with 2 quilts from Fan and Mid Stitches orphan blocks that weren't Harry Potter themed. So this block was all Pokemon, and this center star is actually one of Jeannie's snowflakes that she sent me, and I just thought it pulled the whole thing together. On this, it was actually Jules's idea to do borders on just one side to kind of have everything coming into the inside here. And I know these two kind of blend together a little bit, but orphan blocks, what are you gonna do? The one on this side, we've got Trolls and Stitch and Papa Smurf. We've got a Minion, and this was a machine applique that someone had sent me. I think it might have been Barbara, but I'm not sure. Again, I've made filler blocks. And these filler blocks are just 8.5 inch squares with 2.5 inch strips of some Tula Pink fabric that I picked up at Austin Creative Reuse. It would not be a retreat with me if there wasn't at least one Project of Doom or Harry Potter themed quilt, and these were Project of Doom blocks from all kinds of people. A lot of these are leftovers from other orphan block quilts that I've made in the past. I get a lot of crystal ball blocks because that's the first block in the quilt along, and a lot of times what happens is people make that block and they either make it a little small or they change their background fabric, so I get a lot of crystal balls. I've actually came up with an idea to sort of make these into a different kind of orphan block by maybe embroidering something in there to make it look like a snow globe, so I might do that to add to future Linus quilts. This was actually Hagrid's umbrella, which is intended to be on the outside of the quilt, but I needed more filler, so I just sized it up, turned it on its side, and now it's on a shelf. These 2 blocks I have to share, this quill and this snitch. Those were from when I very first started designing Harry Potter blocks in like 2005 or so. These were my test blocks when I was working out the pattern. So like these versions aren't even the versions that are on the Fan and Mid Stitches website now, because these were like my drafts that I then revised and just improved on. And so these are not even floating around out there anymore, not this version anyway. Again, 2 totally different baby quilt tops. Just in case I haven't said it already, almost every top is approximately 32 to 36 inches, just to try to keep it in that baby size range. 36 is about baby, and 30 to 32 is a little bit smaller, and we do a lot of preemie blankets for the Linus Connection. So I was really working within those parameters to make sure that I could help make more baby quilts. So these orphan blocks I just had to put these together. A couple of them did not have their corners, which I did add, and but they were already in the bag. These came with a quilt top that I want to say was like twin size or maybe full size, that I actually gave to Jules for her project Linus, because they need larger quilts and we need smaller quilts. So I gave that to her to quilt for her organization, and there were enough orphan blocks left over to make a baby quilt for my Linus Connection group. This side, someone gave me some time ago a whole lot of pre-cut little duck panels. And these beautiful blocks were in a separate bag, and then I was looking at them and I thought, you know, if I put just a little bit of teal around here and pull this color out, I can put these together. So I did. This is one of my favorites that I made. I find it very visually striking. So again, even more orphan blocks. This guy started with some winter and weather themed blocks. I had these 2 lovelies that had been shared with me, and then I had this little person dancing in the rain with their dog. These 2 quilt blocks I just thought went with this fabric. And then these two are actually, that's just a fabric that I bought from Austin Creative Reuse. It came in one of my bundles that I purchased. It's just a pre-printed fabric, and I thought the colors went, so I just cut squares out to go with. And then this has little rain boots, which I thought was super precious and goes really well with this particular quilt top. So I had a really good time with this. And then this one, the name of the game for most of my weekend was 12-inch blocks, so 12.5 inch, and that's what these are. So I started with smaller blocks, and I just grew them. Almost everything in here is an 8.5 inch square. Some of it I squared down a smidge and then put 2.5 inch strips around. And in this case, I used just 2 different fabrics. Fun part about these is I actually pulled these out to go with something else. Don't even remember what it was now. And I loved them together so much, I just put the other stuff away. I think it was a fish panel. I had a fish panel or something like that. And I just decided I love these so much that I put them together instead of putting them with the panel. And we have reached the end at last, my friends. I had a bag that was entirely half square triangles, and while I was pulling half square triangles for other blocks, I found these beautiful black and white and red and black blocks, and they were already all the same size. I pulled them out, I arranged them on the wall, I sewed them together, and then decided I wanted a teal border because I used a lot of teal for this particular retreat. So I pulled everything I had left out, and I actually pieced it together like I was making bindings, so it all has the 45-degree angles, and you'll see it here, and you'll see it like across the top. This was everything I had left. The bottom is actually lots of little pieces because I was really running out of teal fabric at this point. This guy I finished after I got home. I had done, I'd actually pulled the planes out and the travel fabric out for something that Jules was working on, and then she ended up not using it. So it was just laying on the table, and I threw it on the wall and started adding borders. And so I ended up with this fabric. You'll see in my quilt, you'll see it in her quilts, this fabric. We used a lot of this. And then we used so much that we ran out. So I added this border, which is a totally different fabric with similar colors on the side. I did actually make one more quilt top, which I used Jules's orphan blocks. She had some memory quilt orphan blocks from her project she made previously. She made a quilt from those, and then I made a quilt from those, and that one went home with her, but I will put a picture here so you can see what it looks like. There is nothing better for my quilter's soul than getting to sew with my best friend and make charity quilts for my favorite charity. So this was a wonderful weekend. It was a wonderful time. It was too short, but it always is. But also, like, we were so tired by the end that I couldn't have gone another day. I loved it. Jules, I love you. Thank you for giving me your long weekend. And guys, I hope you get to sew with a friend soon. Being vaccinated is what made this possible. And yeah, a super quick PS, the Linus Connection meetings are back. We'll be meeting in our usual location at St. Philip's in Round Rock, 9 to 11, third Saturday. And guys, just wear a mask, bring your stuff, and come to Linus.